Before I share these off meta loadouts, let's first cover the rules of what I am referring to as off meta. This refers to what is used most often in pro scrims, tournaments, and pugs, which includes the weapons, any mandatory gadgets on the said class, or any specializations seen the most. These would be things that I would consider meta. I'm also going to be adding what is dominating the current World Tour pick rates. This will be the things that often roll lower elo lobbies and the casual games, and are generally just good for pub stopping. If something listed here seems out of place to you, it might be because you're in the upper or lower bracket of the MMR curve and might not be seeing as much of these being picked. I also want to give a shout out to all the awesome people on Twitch who have been showing up to the chat. Together, we actually workshopped most of the builds that you're going to see here today. I also want to clarify these aren't meant to be some powerful meta-breaking builds, just something that is fun to mess around with if you are getting bored and need some more interesting ideas. Most of these are going to have some interesting tech that go along with it. So let's get into the list of things I'm not allowed to use for each loadout. And before I start, if you're thinking, why is this banned? It might just be a super common complaint in the Discord or on Reddit that I've been seeing, and not necessarily something that is truly overpowered. I try to avoid some of these common complaints, which did make it quite challenging. So for heavy, we're not allowed the SA-12-16 or the sledgehammer. For specialization, we're not allowed the mesh shield or winch claw. For gadgets, I'm banning RPG. Across all MMRs, the RPG is easily the must-pick gadget on pretty much everyone's loadout for the game, in pretty much all the game modes as well, so this kind of has to be banned for this challenge, which did make it pretty hard. For mediums, we will not be allowing the Model 1887, and just to spice it up, none of the ARs are allowed either. The specialization that's banned is going to be the Heal Beam, easily a top pick in all the game modes. I mean, obviously outside of terminal attack. For gadgets, we are going to ban the defib, and we're also going to be banning double movement, so no jump pad plus zipline, but we can use one or the other. Glitch traps are also slowly taking over a lot of the pro scrims and stuff, which is why glitch trap is also going to be banned. Next, we have light, which honestly is very tricky to decide on, as the meta is drastically different for lower and higher elos, but the weapon that we're going to ban is going to be the XP54, as this weapon seems to be in a league of its own compared to some of the other choices for light. Specialization, I think when it comes to different elos, both cloak and dash are pretty common, so I'm actually not going to be banning any specialization, but I do promise I'm going to be getting to a grapple loadout. For gadgets, we're going to be banning the stun gun and gateway. Even though I love my gateway, I know how mandatory this gadget has become for light, so we just can't allow that. And we all know how frustrating it is to be stunned, so I thought, you know what, let's just not even allow it. Now that we have the rules, let's go over some of the builds that me and my chat ended up cooking up. For the first build, we have what I'm going to call Truce-lite. Shout out to the man, the myth, the legend Truce. His MGL gameplay is unreal. And if you want to watch some god tier MGL gameplay or some trick shots, this is definitely going to be your guy. I'll leave a link in the description for anyone interested, but this build won't exactly mimic his build as some of the stuff he does use is banned, but this playstyle is surprisingly strong and is amazing when you want to play safe and not die, but still you can dish out tons of damage. The reason why this works in like a solo queue setting is because if you don't want to be the first one in because you're not too sure if your teammate is going to follow up, you can just sit outside the cash out and deal damage in a pretty big AoE. You also have the mines and stuff to defend yourself. And when you do want to roll up to the party, you can charge and slam them all. So for the weapon, we're going to bring the MGL. For spec, charge and slam. For gadgets, we're going to bring the Explo Mine, C4, and Dome. The C4 mines can trigger an explosion a lot bigger by shooting them with your MGL. It doesn't get bigger than normal, but it kind of amplifies the damage that one MGL might do, which is why we're going to be bringing this for an insane burst. The Dome plus charge also allows you to play really safe when you're in close range engagements, because you don't really want to be MGLing when they're right in your face. For the second build, we have what I'm going to call Olympian. A little thematic for the times, can't really blame me. We'll be bringing Goo, Spear, Frag, Anti-Grav, and Dome Shield. The Goo and Spear combo is similar to the classic Goo and Sledge combo, but what we can do is create a high jump, create a wall with the Goo, place your Anti-Grav, and you can do a high jump by sliding and jumping at the right time into your cube to send your character flying diagonally at a fast rate. Who said heavies don't have movement? And to polish up the build, we have the dome shield. In solo queue, heavies lack mobility, so we're just going to solve that problem. Assuming that we're not going to have a medium getting us around with ziplines and jump pads, we can kind of use the anti-grav as our own mini jump pad. We also can set up some defenses with the goo for walls, and also cocoon off the Casho using anti-grav. For the first medium build, we will be the flanker. This is going to be some pretty interesting synergy. Some of these combos are kind of crazy, and you'll actually be able to catch players off guard. So first, we're going to be bringing the revolver, the dematerializer, data reshaper, goo grenade, and jump pad. So let's go over the synergy here. The dematerializer can drop the jump pad a floor below to bring the Casho up. The goo grenade can help you peek from weird angles. The jump pad on a goo grenade can angle the pad to get you more distance. Overall, these synergies here are kind of crazy, and I had a lot of fun with this. I actually think this is a pretty viable build if you want to play medium, but not as a full-on support. The next build for medium we have is the medium tank. We're basically going to be the front line for our team. We're going to help them stay alive, but not by healing, by blocking. We're going to bring the riot shield, the sentry turret, gas grenades, zipline, APS turret. This way we can set up defenses, deny areas with gas, get our team around with a zipline, and use the APS to avoid any grenades or RPGs that might end up destroying you and your team. I found this build honestly super challenging to use. This is probably arguably the weakest one that we kind of cooked up, but there were a few moments where I was like, wait a second. I think if you spent the time to kind of master the riot shield with the turret and you know how to position accordingly and you get set up in a really nice spot, it could be really strong. I also find that you can't really get glitched like the mesh shield can, so you can block your teammates from getting shot at while they're stealing, which is actually really, really strong. There's tons of things about this build where I feel like it actually is very, very strong, but I think it has so many downsides that it makes it really hard. I think it's about kind of practicing and figuring out how to play into those strong niches, and then you might actually see some success. I definitely saw signs of being very, very good with the riot shield, but there was a lot of challenges to overcome in order to learn this a little bit. Let's get into some builds for the weight class that everyone both thinks is overpowered, but also hypocritically hates having them on their team because they are useless. The light class. We actually have a very useful light build here. The idea is to help your team a lot and give them vision. I'm going to call this one Scout. For weapon, we're going to use the M11. For spec, we're going to be bringing grapple, and the gadgets are all about intel. So we're going to bring sonar grenade, vanish bomb, and tracking dart. So the idea of this build is to reach high ground with grapple. Considering it just got buffed, I definitely wanted to explore this a little bit. From high ground, we're going to throw sonars at the point, tracking dart anyone that you can see, and then you vanish bomb yourself so that you can charge into the fight, potentially get a pick or deal damage, and then your grapple will end up being off cooldown by this point, so you can just grapple back to safety after you've dealt some damage. After you're back on high ground, you're just going to repeat the process over and over. This lets you stay at a safe distance while gathering tons of vital information for your team. This way, you and your team can go in for picks. You're going to have tons of intel of where everybody is. That way you might not get surprised by somebody third-partying you. You'll also know which targets are separated from their team. With all the vision, you should be able to find all the weaker targets as well. This is actually a very fun playstyle, and it's actually extremely good in solo queue. Your teammates might actually enjoy having a light on their team for once. So this next light build is a little Rainbow Six Siege inspired. You are a breacher. The idea of this is to make an entry for you or your team, but you're going to be doing it with a lot of cover so that you can stay safe upon your entry. And we still have great mobility. So we're going to be bringing the V9S. The silencer here will give us a bit of a surprise factor when starting fights. For specialization, we have Dash, which will let us get around the map. Considering the following gadgets do take some time to set up, being quick to the location is crucial. We're going to be bringing Breaching Charge, Smoke Grenade, and Thermal Vision. This is going to be used all together. So first you're going to throw your Breach, then you throw your Smoke, you turn on your Thermal Vision, and then go back to your Breach and blow up the wall. After this, you have a new entryway to a point, a Smoke Grenade to cover vision, and you have clear vision through the hole. With the Silence Pistol, you can just start taking shots, and it might take a few seconds for the enemies to figure out where it's coming from. This is a very fun and tactical playstyle. albeit it is a bit tricky to pull off, and it does take a bit of a setup. I think if you're more coordinated with your team, this could be really, really nice, but I think it is kind of a nice, safe way to play around point without having to go straight into the middle and often get picked off. You can play these tricky angles and deal damage from afar. While I have you here, thank you for watching up to this point. If you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. There's been a huge influx of subs recently, and I'm so grateful. It lets me know that what I'm doing and the videos that I'm making are being enjoyed by everyone here. And I intend to keep releasing content on the finals, so thank you so much to all the new subscribers. Thank you to all my members. If you enjoy my content, this is the easiest way to support me, and it means a lot. Comment below any off-meta loadouts you use. I'm a huge fan of shaking up the meta, so let me know what you've been using to stomp lobbies. My personal favorite, I'm sure all you guys know, is the bow. I absolutely love using the bow. I rarely see anybody else using it, and when I do, it seems like they haven't quite got the hang of it, but the bow is easily the most satisfying weapon in the game. If you're solo queuing, be nice to your teammates, try to help them out, and I will see you in the finals.
The jet setters take the top spot.
Watch your step.
Looks like a team wipeout for the big splash.
Talking about Mr. Shoddy. That guy. Imagine getting diffed by Raichu.
Contestant is finding their rhythm, stringing together one elimination after another.
Bro, how did he just not just like quick melee you one time?
Should commence to cash out.
My bad.
You just passed the halfway point and are really impressed with the team so far, Ju.
No time to run and get snacks, viewers. Juice left in the tank.
I cannot hit the for anything, bro. I'm really bad at hitting the goo.
Frag grenade out.
Give that up for free, right? Right, Orange?
Oh, debris?
Yes! He's literally just looking at it like, what the fuck?
This is exactly what the big splash needed. They've pocketed our first
W
touchdown.
physics.
You can see like just in his character.